இன்று மனவேதனை தரும் உணர்வுகளை எப்படி கையாளுதல் என்ற தலைப்பில் செல்வி மயில்வாகன் அவர்கள் ஒரு உரையை ஆற்றியிருந்தார்கள். அவர் முக்கியமாக அவர் கவனத்தில் கொண்டது என்றால் வாழ்க்கையில் நடைமுறையில் எப்படி நாங்கள் சில யுக்திகளை கையாண்டு மன அமைதியுடன் வாழலாம் என்ற நோக்கத்தில் ஒரு சிறந்த உரையை ஆற்றியிருந்தார். ஒரு ஆரம்பத்திலேயே எடுத்துக்கொண்ட ஒரு விளக்கம் என்றால், உதாரணமாக நாங்கள் ஒரு ஊர்தியில், அதாவது மோட்டார் காரில் செல்லும் பொழுது அது இது இயந்திரம் இடையில் செயலிழந்து விட்டது என்றால் உடலுடைய எப்படியான உணர்வுகள் ஏற்படுகின்றது என்றது ஒரு எடுத்துக்காட்டுடன் தனது உரையை ஆரம்பித்தார். அப்ப இந்த இதிலே அது ரெண்டு காரியங்கள் நான் கருத வேண்டும். ஒன்றென்றால் இந்த கார் இயந்திரம் தடைப்பட்டதற்கு செயலிழந்ததற்கு காரணம் என்றால் ஒன்று வெளியே இருக்கின்றது, அடுத்தது உள்ளே இருக்கின்றது.
Vanakkam, Namaste, greetings to all. Every day we gather here to conduct powerful meditation for world peace and harmony, unity, overall health and well-being in the world. I would like to mention that we can be proud that we have achieved 1010 days of meditation. Currently, we are doing meditation for 3 times a day. UK time 9:30 a.m., 10:11 a.m. and 8 p.m. Now we will go into meditation. We are blessed to have this opportunity to do this meditation. Drink some warm water before and after meditation. This will prevent dryness of the throat. We will get ready now. Sit in a comfortable position and keep your body relaxed. Keep your head upright. Please remove your glasses if you are wearing one. Gently close your eyes. Interlace your fingers like this and keep on your lap. Keep your feet crossed like this. Now focus on your normal, natural breath. In breath and out breath. Breath is our guru. You may get thoughts during meditation. However, ignore them and concentrate on your breath again and again. Please don't open your eyes until an announcement is made. We will do this meditation for 30 minutes. First 15 minutes with music meditation. After 15 minutes without music silence meditation. இப்பொழுது சிறிது தமிழில் பார்க்கலாம். நாங்கள் அனைவரும் ஒரு சுகமான ஆசனத்தில் தியானத்துக்காக அமர்வோம். மூக்கு கண்ணாடி அணிந்திருந்தால் அதனை கழற்றி வையுங்கள். உங்களுடைய தலையை நேராக வைத்து உடலை தளர்ச்சியாக வைத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள். கைகளை இவ்வாறு கோர்த்து மடி மீது வைத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள். கால்களை இவ்வாறு ஒன்றன் மேல் ஒன்று பின்னி வைத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள். கண்களை மூடிக்கொள்ளுங்கள். கண்களை மூடும் போது உங்களுடைய மூச்சின் மேல் கவனமாய் இருத்தல் வேண்டும். மூச்சுதான் எங்களுடைய பிரதான குரு. மூச்சை உள்ளெடுத்து மூச்சை வெளிவிடுவதே இத்தியானத்தின் சிறப்பாகும். இந்த தியானத்தின் போது எண்ணங்கள் வரலாம். அவற்றை நீங்கள் கவனியாது உங்கள் கவனம் மூச்சின் மேல் கவனமாய் இருத்தல் வேண்டும். அறிவித்தல் வரும் வரை நீங்கள் கண்களை திறவாதீர்கள். இப்பொழுது நாங்கள் 30 நிமிடம் இசையுடன் கூடிய தியானம் செய்வோம். அதில் முதல் 15 நிமிடங்கள் இசையுடன் கூடிய தியானமும், அடுத்த 15 நிமிடங்கள் இசை நிறுத்தப்பட்டு மௌன தியானமும் இடம்பெறும். நன்றி. Masters, please come back to your normal awareness. அனைவரும் உங்கள் இயல்பு நிலைக்கு வாருங்கள். Separate your hands and put your fingers gently over your eyes. உங்கள் கைகளை மெதுவாக பிரித்து கண்கள் மேல் வையுங்கள். Now 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. இப்பொழுது 5 வினாடிகள். 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We will clap our hands for 30 seconds and enjoy completing this wonderful group meditation. நாங்கள் அனைவரும் ஒருங்கிணைந்து ஒரு கூட்டு தியானம் செய்ததற்கு 30 வினாடிகள் தொடர்ந்து கைதட்டி மகிழ்வோம். Now I hand over this platform to Mr. Sriskandar Raja, Master. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sivamohan Master. Vanakkam, greetings to all. We thank everyone who took part in our joint meditation today, focusing on peace of mind, psychological healing, and harmony with the blessings of the cosmic power. When we meditate jointly, it helps to generate a social force in the form of oneness that spreads across all the nations around the world to promote peace and harmony and in general well-being to everyone around the world. Our sincere thanks to Sivamohan Master, who conducted the meditation today, and for the calming music provided for this meditation, for Darshini Udayaraja from Liverpool and Sivamohan from Mitcham, and Sivamohan Master for recording this event as well, and to everyone who participated in joint meditation today. We would also like to thank PSSM Tamil Europe, PMC TV, which is part of PSSM Global. May the whole world be blessed with peace, harmony, prosperity, and well-being. வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். It is with a great joy that I introduce our first-time speaker for today, Ms. Chelvi Mailvagnam. With a remarkable 22 years of dedicated practice in Kadamba meditation and philosophy, Ms. Chelvi brings a wealth of experience and insight to her gathering. In addition to her spiritual journey, Ms. Chelvi is a devoted mother and a former end-of-life care social worker. Her compassionate nature has not only enriched her personal life, but has also touched the lives of those under her care. Presently, she serves as a manager of meditation charity based in Kent, embodying her commitment to share the transformative power of meditation with the community. I would also like to express our gratitude to Mrs. Thavamani Manoharan for introducing such a good speaker to our forum. Without further delay, let us extend our warm welcome as we invite Ms. Chelvi Mailvagnam to share her insights on the topic of dealing the painful feelings. Her speech will be summarized in Tamil language by Kumarasamy Pillai Master from Sydney. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. Thank you. Can you hear me all okay? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, great. So I've got half an hour, so I'll share with you some insights, some practical tips that I've learned with my spiritual guide, Geshe Kelsang. He's a Tibetan meditation master. So it's about painful feelings. The painful feelings is very practical topic, really. So I thought we could start with a little bit of exploration and then go and then progress towards like a step-by-step process of how you work with painful feelings. Okay, so I may ask rhetorical questions, but if you wanted to say anything, just unmute yourself and please feel free to speak as well. So my teacher, Geshe Kelsang, he explains that, you know, in the book, I'll share the resources with you. So how to, well, you can see it. It's got How to Solve Your Human Problems. That's a book which you can buy online, How to Solve Your Human Problems. He describes that all living beings, all human beings have two problems at any given moment in time. So there was sort of a very sort of, the example that he gives is that, you know, when your car breaks down, for instance, there's two problems. One is a problem of the car breaking down, which is an external problem. And the second is the inner problem, which is a problem of painful feelings, your emotional reaction to the car breaking down, okay? So the first is a car's problem, is something external. So you would take that to the garage, get the car fixed. But the painful feelings of anger, like this, especially if you're like trying to get to an important appointment and then the car breaks down and there's frustration, there's stress, there's maybe even self-pity. Why does it happen to me? You know, not on this day, why is it happening? So all of these are uncomfortable feelings, painful feelings. So that's our human problem, our inner problem. Okay, so that's a very sort of a paradigm of understanding that in all of our life's challenges, so the car breaking down is an analogy for instance, health problems, relationship problems, financial problems, problems of the world, and the problems of uncertainty, problems of illness, and so on. So all of these things, they are triggers. They trigger within us painful feelings of anxiety, worry, sadness, depression, anxiety, and frustration and stress, and so on, right? But the key thing to understand is that it is possible for you to have an external problem and yet be peaceful. Does that make sense? So if you understand there are two different problems, meditation really helps. I think all of us here are meditators. You know, meditating is not going to help get your car fixed or your illness cured, but it'll help you deal with the external problem with more peace, with more acceptance, with more courage, and with more resilience. Okay. So painful feelings are really the things, you know, like if, for example, another question to ask ourselves is, what is it that you fear? You can say things, you can unmute and say if you like. What is it in your life that you most fear? Okay, so yes.
What is going to happen again? Something happens, so you think more. What is the next step to do?
Yeah, so you mean like that if something happens, you're not quite sure how to proceed with it, or it might happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So in a way, like what you're describing there is an uncomfortable feeling of anxiety, maybe, or not knowing. Do you know what I mean? And it's interesting, actually, like a lot of things we fear, we might say, I fear a difficult relationship. I fear my health deteriorating. I fear, I don't know, the uncertainty of the future. But actually what we are really fearing is the uncomfortable feelings they're going to bring for us. Does that make sense? So if, for example, I'm going to take a person example of a relationship. So we might say this person is a very difficult person in my life. You know, when I have to see them, when I have to be around them, it's very difficult. This is a challenge. But in reality, why is it a challenge? Because when you're around that person, they trigger within us uncomfortable feelings, like maybe insecurity, maybe they're a little bit unpredictable, so we feel a bit anxious around them. So in a way, what we fear is not the person, it's the feelings that evoke in us. Is that making sense? Right? That's the same for all life events, really, is that, you know, maybe we fear sickness. You know, sickness is something, and I worked at end-of-life care, and it's very interesting, actually, working in a hospice situation where, you know, seemingly there's a universal response to a terminal illness, but actually I have worked with people who've been incredibly at peace with their cancer diagnosis or with their terminal condition. They had some acceptance, some resilience, some love that protected them from experiencing the depression or the anxiety, which is quite normal. Do you know what I mean? So even in those extreme situations, if someone has really trained their mind or they've got some internal resources, they're able to deal with that kind of life. You know, I mean, most of us would consider that to be a very, very challenging situation, but they're able to find that peace. Okay, so really that's like the main paradigm here is the outer and inner problem, yeah, which is the foundation for meditation. So then now, for example, you know, how do we work with painful feelings? You know, how do we work with painful feelings? So that's the first question, really. And, you know, I think the most foundational practice is what we just did half an hour ago, which is meditation, creating that space in our mind. I love that quote, you know, meditation is about going from, I think, movement to stillness. I think it's something about limited identity to limitless space, which I thought was beautiful, the quote on the computer. So that's really important, that kind of like being able to connect with that peace within our heart and know that we are more than our painful feelings. We are more than our uncomfortable feelings. We are more than our anxiety or worry. So let me just I'm going to read out a couple of paragraphs here. So I'm going to summarize what I've read, and then I'm going to just go through the steps of how to work with painful feelings. So my teacher Geshe Kelsing says, our problems do not exist outside our mind. The real nature of our problems is our unpleasant feelings, which are part of our mind. When our car, for example, has a problem, we often say, I have a problem. But in reality, it is not our problem, but the car's problem. Our problems develop only when we experience unpleasant feelings. The car's problems exist outside the mind, whereas our problems are inside our mind. By differentiating between animate and inanimate problems like this, we can understand that the real nature of our problems is our own feelings, which are part of our mind. Okay, so then the whole book is about the exploration of why, you know, what particular minds gives rise to unpleasant feelings. One of the key mind is anger, the mind of anger, right? So I remember when I first heard these teachings a long time ago, I was like, oh, I'm not very angry. And then I started to come along, you know, started coming along to these classes and so on, Kadampa classes, and realized, oh, wow, there's a lot of anger in my mind. Because in our, you know, even boredom is a mild version of anger. So the definition of anger here is, you know, if something happens and then we react with a feeling that shouldn't have happened. Like, you know, the car break, I'm going to go back to the car breaking down, but that's just an analogy for everything in life, okay? So maybe you're not worried about car breaking down, but it might be other things in your life. So, you know, it's a feeling of this shouldn't be happening. So whatever's happening, we think this shouldn't be happening, right? Like, you know, I've got a 6-year-old daughter who's never listening to anything I'm saying, you know, and you know, when I'm getting a little bit frustrated, it's like, she shouldn't be behaving like this. Rather than thinking she's behaving like this, how can I help her parent her better? My mind's like, oh, she shouldn't be behaving like this. So there's a kind of an emotional resistance towards what's going on, okay? Which is basically like you're pushing away what's happening. It's that belief that whatever's happening should be different, not being able to accept in the moment what is actually happening. So that mind keeps you stuck to painful feelings. You can't move from it. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Please do ask if you have any questions. So the first step is to kind of, let's say for the uncomfortable feelings, sometimes what we do, what I notice in my own experience, you know, when there's uncomfortable feelings coming up, so maybe restlessness or boredom or anxiety, and most of us in the world that we live in, we just pick up our phones and try to distract ourselves from the uncomfortable feeling. Or we try to, you know, like numb it with sort of eating something or distracting yourself. Or if it's painful, really strong uncomfortable feelings, then you look to blame someone, you know, like, it's your fault, you made me feel like this, and so on. So the first step is being able to create some space between yourself and the uncomfortable feeling. Okay, so that's why the meditation is really important. It's a very interesting like a practice here of learning to see your feelings in a very detached, impartial way. Okay, so almost like with a mind of a scientist, with curious mind, like, oh, that's really interesting. I've got some uncomfortable feelings coming up in my mind, you know? So rather than thinking, I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling annoyed, or I'm feeling anxious, where you are identifying so strongly with the feelings, there's no space between yourself and the feelings, you take a step back and go, oh, that's interesting. Like a scientist exploring the inner laboratory of your mind. Oh, that's interesting. I've got some uncomfortable feelings coming up in my mind. And just kind of developing a very inquisitive mindset, you know? So, like I'll read another paragraph up here. And this is something I've trained in, and it's so helpful. This is one of my daily practices, actually. Yeah, like I do this, and it really does help in a very practical sense, dealing with whatever's going on for you in any given moment in time. So my teacher says there's an enormous difference between the thoughts, I am feeling bad, and unpleasant feelings are arising in my mind. When we identify with our feelings, we make them bigger and more solid than they are, and it becomes far more difficult to let the unpleasant feelings go. On the other hand, when we learn to view our feelings in a more detached way, seeing them simply as waves in the ocean of our mind, they become less frightening and much easier to deal with constructively. Okay, so that's like very simple, but so life-changing, very profound, practical advice. You know, I always sort of think about, you know, before end of life care, I worked with in social work, you know, people who are suicidal and so on, and really, really depressed. And, you know, with that, you know, for me, this particular training of the mind practice can save people's lives, because if you can develop the skill set, that's going to allow you to take a space between yourself and your thoughts. That's going to be life-changing. In fact, I remember I was teaching these classes in London. I was part of the Kadampa Centre in London before we moved to Kent. And there was a lady that was coming to my classes, and she had the diagnosis of, like, you know, what they call generalized anxiety disorder. So she was very anxious and on lots of medication for her anxiety and lots of other conditions. And we were doing the meditation of like watching your thoughts coming up from your mind. And she had this moment, this penny drop moment, when she realized actually when anxious thoughts came into her mind, she doesn't have to think them. She doesn't have to grab hold of them. She doesn't need to follow that trail of thought. And that completely changed her sense of identity, because she always saw herself as a very anxious person, and she labeled herself as a very anxious person, and that really kept her in a box of limitation. And then suddenly she realized anxious thoughts are just that, they're just thoughts. I don't need to identify with it. I can just let it go, you know? So that really changed her whole life and her mental health as well. So that's this particular piece of practical advice, just realizing that we're not our feelings, we're not our thoughts even. They're just, you know, we have millions of trillions of thoughts in any given moment in time, in one day even. So we're not any of those thoughts, really. So what we are is the peace in our heart. You know, when we meditate, you connect to that peace, you know, that kind of that sort of our golden nature for enlightenment, you know, within our heart. So that's a really, that's one of the first things. The other thing is very practical advice when unpleasant feelings come. Is you know, this is a very step-by-step process. So I was you know, in the classes we teach in our meditation center, we teach this, you know, like every week, like a training ground, you know. So when unpleasant feelings come, the first thing that we do in general is to panic. You know, there's almost like, oh no, I don't want to be feeling like this. So the first thing we want to do is just not panic and just sort of breathe in and accept, oh, that's interesting, I'm feeling these feelings, but not from your head, but from your heart space. Especially when you're meditating, you're used to being in your heart, you know, your heart chakra, like breathing in and just sort of accepting, oh, this is what I'm feeling. There's some feelings of discomfort coming up, and breathing into that, using your breath as an anchor, and allowing yourself to feel what's actually going on for you in your mind, without the analysis of like, why am I feeling like this? You know, without going into your head, because that could be another form of escape, over analysis. But just being relaxed into your breath and relaxing into the feelings, and just breathing into the feelings and just sort of sitting with it. So I'm going to read that particular training up again. When painful feelings arise in our mind, there is no need to panic. I mean, that's the first thing, okay? When painful feelings come up, so maybe like tomorrow, or when you have some uncomfortable feelings coming up in your mind, the first thing you want to think about, step number one, is not to panic. And then we can patiently accept them. So what does that mean? So when painful feelings come, our normal response is to want to numb, to escape, or to blame. Whether you blame yourself, guilt, or blame somebody else, or you want to kind of escape it by scrolling through your phone or eating some food or something like that. Or kind of like hard, if it's something like harden your heart and so on. So here you just want to like, these feelings are here, like really accept that they're here. There's no point trying to numb them because then you're kind of pushing it down just to kind of experience it. And then so there's no need to panic. We can accept them patiently, and then there's no need, and experience them and investigate their nature and where they come from. When we do this, we shall discover that painful feelings do not come to us from the outside, but arise from within our own mind. Circumstances or other people have no power to make us feel bad. The most they can do is to trigger the potentials for painful feelings that already exist within our own mind. These potentials are karmic imprints, are the residues of the negative actions we created in the past, which we performed because our mind was under the control of delusions, and so on. By patiently accepting painful feelings without clinging to them, the negative karmic potentials from which they arose are purified. We will never have to experience that karma again. So this is quite deep, and it's going into teachings of karma as well. So depending on like whether, I'm sure most of you will be, it's easy for you to accept when I'm teaching to a more Western audience, slightly different. So really, that just being able to accept those difficult feelings that are coming from your mind, and what you're purifying that karma, but also you're building this incredible emotional resilience to a point that, imagine having a very strong mind when you have nothing to fear. Like, you're not afraid of painful feelings anymore. Like, you're not afraid of uncomfortable feelings. If you're not afraid of uncomfortable feelings, is there anything you would be afraid of? Probably not. Because we're only afraid of things, as we explored earlier, because they trigger uncomfortable feelings. So if you have built that emotional resilience where you're not afraid of uncomfortable feelings, anything can happen to you, because life is full of uncertainty. We don't really know what's around the corner. We cannot control the future. That's what anxiety is trying to do, isn't it? Minds of anxiety is trying to control the future. We're trying to plan and control, and it's like a chess piece, trying to manipulate external conditions. Of course we can try and plan, but without the anxiety, so, and without that fear, living with that courage, whatever happens, if I get ill, something happens, a relationship breaks down, or there's the financial problems, I have the internal resources to cope with it. I know how to deal with uncomfortable feelings, and that brings this incredible confidence in us. So I think that's kind of, for me, that's like a really, I guess that's the meaning of my life, really, is to build that internal confidence for my own sake and for the sake of others, that will give that the security we're looking for in the external world. We're all looking for security, aren't we? And stability and safety, and that's world peace. We're looking for world peace. So there's an interesting quote by my teacher, Geshe Kelsing. He says that without inner peace, there's no world peace. So that's exactly what we're doing here, right? The understanding that actually world peace comes from our internal peace, collective peace coming together. So really the ultimate solution to all of our internal problems, our personal problems, as well as international problems, is building that inner peace and that inner resilience. That's going to help us live fearlessly. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chelvi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kumar Saipula Master will summarize your speech in Tamil. After that, we'll go for a question and answer session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
அனைவருக்கும் என்னுடைய இதயங்கழிந்த வணக்கம். இன்று மனவேதனை தரும் உணர்வுகளை எப்படி கையாளுதல் என்ற தலைப்பில் செல்வி மயில்வாகன் அவர்கள் ஒரு உரையை ஆற்றியிருந்தார்கள். அவர் முக்கியமாக அவர் கவனத்தில் கொண்டது என்றால், வாழ்க்கையில் நடைமுறையில் எப்படி நாங்கள் சில யுக்திகளை கையாண்டு மன அமைதியுடன் வாழலாம் என்ற நோக்கத்தில் ஒரு சிறந்த உரையை ஆற்றியிருந்தார். ஒரு ஆரம்பத்திலேயே அவர் எடுத்துக்கொண்ட ஒரு விளக்கம் என்றால், உதாரணமாக நாங்கள் ஒரு ஊர்தியின், அதாவது மோட்டார் காரில் செல்லும் பொழுது அது இது இயந்திரம் இடையில் செயலிழந்து விட்டது என்றால் உடலுடைய எப்படியான உணர்வுகள் ஏற்படுகின்றது என்றது ஒரு எடுத்துக்காட்டுடன் தனது உரையை ஆரம்பித்தார். அப்ப இந்த இதிலே அது 2 காரியங்கள் நான் கருத வேண்டும். ஒன்றென்றால் இந்த இயந்திரம் தடைப்பட்டதற்கு செயலிழந்ததற்கு காரணம் என்றால், ஒன்று வெளியே இருக்கின்றது, அடுத்தது உள்ளே இருக்கின்றது. முதலாவது அந்த இது 2 உணர்வுகள் எப்படியான உணர்வுகள் வரும் என்றால், முதலாவது இந்த ஊர்தியில் தவறு இருக்கின்றது, அது வெளியிலே காரில் இருக்க தவறுகள். அதை விட இப்படி நடந்து விட்டதே என்று உணர்வு ஒன்று ஏற்படும். அந்த உணர்வு பதட்டத்தையும் பயத்தையும் கவலையையும் ஏற்படுத்தி கொண்டிருக்கும். இப்படியான வெளியே இருக்கிற உணர்வுகளையும் உள்ளே இருக்கிற உணர்வுகளையும் பற்றித்தான் நான் இப்பொழுது பேச முனைகின்றேன். வாழ்க்கையிலே எப்பொழுதும் வெளியிலே இருக்கின்ற பிரச்சனைகள் இருக்கின்றன, அவற்றை நாங்கள் சில நேரங்கள் எங்களால் கையாள முடியாது. ஆனால் உள்ளே இருக்கிற புறங்களை கையாளக்கூடியதாக இருக்கின்றோம். இப்ப இது உலகத்திலே எல்லாருக்கும் இது பொதுவாக நடக்கின்றது. எப்பொழுதும் ஒரு எங்களுடைய மனத்துக்கு வேதனை தரும் ஒரு உணர்வு நடக்கின்ற பொழுது அது எங்களுடைய உடலிலே, உள்ளத்திலேயே, எண்ணங்களிலே ஒரு தாக்கத்தை ஆரம்பித்து அதிலிருந்து பிரச்சனையை உருவாக்குகின்றன. எப்பொழுதும் இது எல்லா துறைகளுக்கும் நிதி சார்ந்ததாக இருந்தா, உடல் சார்ந்ததாக இருந்தா, உறவு சார்ந்ததாக இருந்தா, எப்படி எல்லா இதுகளுக்கும் இந்த முக்கியமாக எங்களுடைய உள்ளுணர்வுகள் தான் காரணம் என்பதை நாங்கள் சொல்றோம். அப்ப அந்த உள்ளுணர்வுகளை எப்படி கையாளுதல் என்பதை நாங்கள் முக்கியமாக கற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டியது, பயிற்சி பெற வேண்டியது. இப்ப இப்படி இப்ப எந்த நேரம் இப்படியான எந்த முக்கிய குறைப்பா என்ன மாதிரியானதுக்கு நாங்கள் பயப்படுறோம் என்றால், பொதுவாக நாங்கள் நலமில்லாத உணர்வுகளுக்கு தான் பயப்படுகின்றோம். இது ஒரு நிகழ்வு நடந்து விட்டால் அதன் தாக்கம் எப்படி என்றால் ஒன்று நலம் சார்ந்ததாக இருக்கவில்லை, நலம் இல்லாத. அப்ப நலம் சார்ந்தது என்றால் நாங்கள் மகிழ்ச்சி அடைவோம். எங்களுக்கு நலம் இல்லாமல் மன வேதனையை உருவாக்கும் என்றால் அதை பற்றி நாங்கள் கவலைப்படுகின்றோம். இதுதான் இது உதாரணமாக உறவுகளிலே காணலாம். உறவுகள் ஏற்படும் பொழுது நாங்கள் எப்படியான உறவுகள் இருக்கின்றன. ஆனால் வாழ்க்கையிலேயே எங்களுக்கு எல்லா நிகழ்வுகளையும் ஏதோ ஒரு உணர்வுகளை ஏற்படுத்தி கொண்டிருக்கும். அது ஒன்று சில உணர்வுகள் வெளியே ஏற்படுகின்ற உணர்வுகளுக்கு எங்களால் எந்த விதமான தீர்வுகளையும் காண முடியாது. அதில் நமக்கு உள்ளே ஏற்படுகின்ற சவால்களை, சூழ்நிலைகளை எங்களால் பயிற்சி பெற்று சில விதத்தில் கையாளலாம் என்றுதான் நான் கருதுகிறோம். அப்ப உதாரணமாக சில நேரம் எங்களுடைய மக்களோட நாங்கள் உறவுகள், அந்த உறவுகள்ல சில உறவுகள் நல்லதாக இருக்கு, சிலதுகள் எங்களுக்கு ஏற்புடையதாக இல்லாத இருக்கும். அப்படியான பொழுது நமது உணர்வுகளை நாங்கள் ஓரளவுக்கு கட்டுப்படுத்த இருக்க. உதாரணமாக கோபம் வரும் பொழுது இது நடந்து எங்களுடைய ஒரு நிகழ்வு நடந்து விட்டால் அந்த கோபம் என்பது அதற்கு ஒரு எதிர் வினைதான். இந்த கோபம் அது அந்த நிகழ்வில் எங்களுக்கு நிம்மதி இல்லை, மகிழ்ச்சி இல்லை, ஏற்புடையதா இல்லை என்றால் நாங்கள் எங்களுடைய உணர்வை எதிர்ப்பு கூறும் பொழுது அதைத்தான் நாங்கள் கோபம் என்றுவோம். இப்போ இப்படியான உணர்ச்சி வசப்பட்டு நாங்கள் கோபப்படும் பொழுது ஒரு தாக்கம் ஏற்படுகின்றது. இப்போ அவற்றை நாங்கள் கையாளுவதற்கு கற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டும். என்ன மாதிரி நாங்கள் கற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டும் என்றால், முதலாவது அதை ஏற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டும். கேட்டுக்கொள்ளும் பொழுது அது எதிர்வினைக்கு இடம் இருக்காது, ஏற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டும். மற்ற இன்னொன்று நாங்கள் நினைவாக பார்ப்போம், ஒன்று நடந்து விட்டால் அதுக்கு பொறுப்பு ஏற்காமல் இன்னொருவருக்கு அது காரணம் காட்டி குற்றத்தை வேறு எங்கேயோ திசை திருப்ப முயற்சி செய்வோம். அப்படியா நாங்கள் செய்யக்கூடாது. அதுக்கப்ப என்ன செய்யணும் என்றால், அது ஒரு நிகழ்வு, ஒரு சூழ்நிலை உருவாக்கப்பட்டு விட்டது, அதை நாங்கள் எதிர்த்து அதை சந்திக்கிறதுக்கு தயாராக இருக்க வேண்டும். எப்படி அதை கையாளலாம், எப்படி எங்களால் அதுக்கு பதில் விலை ஆற்றலாம் என்று சென்று ஓடும். மற்ற அதோட அதை பற்றி கவலையோ ஒரு சோர்வு ஏற்படாமல் மனதை பயிற்சிப்படுத்திக் கொண்டு வேண்டும். மனம் இந்த எண்ணங்கள் தான் இது எல்லாத்துக்கும் காரணம். உதாரணமாக எண்ணங்களை கையாள்பவங்களுக்கு எத்தனையோ ஆயிரக்கோடிக்கணக்கான எண்ணங்கள் வருகின்றன, அவைகள் கையாள வேண்டும். இப்போ முதலாவது எண்ணங்கள் உருவாக்கும் இந்த கவலைகளை, பதட்ட நிலையை கையாளுவதற்கு கற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டும், சில பயிற்சி கொள்ள வேண்டும். ஆனால் அது என்ன, இப்போ ஒரு நிகழ்ச்சியில் நடந்து கொண்டிருக்க வேண்டும், அதை இனங்காண முயற்சி செய்யாமல் அது எதற்காக வந்தது என்ற ஒரு விதமான ஆய்வை மேற்கொண்டால் அப்படியான பிரச்சனைகளை நாங்கள் மீண்டும் மீண்டும் சந்திக்கிறதுக்கு தயாராக இருக்க வேண்டும். எதிர்ப்பு மன சக்தியை நாங்கள் பெற்றுக்கொள்ள வேண்டும். மற்றது அடுத்த இதை முக்கியமானது வந்து எந்த நிகழ்வு நடந்தாலும் எப்பொழுதும் பயப்படக்கூடாது. பயம்தான் எல்லாத்துக்கும் காரணம். இப்ப அந்த நேரங்கள்ல தான் எங்களுக்கு தியானம் உதவி செய்கின்றது. இப்ப எங்களுடைய சுவாசத்தை உள்மூச்சு ஒளிச்செடுக்க வச்சு இதயத்தை ஒரு அமைதிப்படுத்தி கொண்டிருக்கிற நேரத்தில் வந்து எங்களுக்கு ஒரு பதட்ட நிலையை குறைக்கலாம். அப்ப அந்த அப்படியான நேரங்கள்ல தயவு செய்து இது ஏன் எனக்கு நிகழ்ந்தது, ஏன் இப்படி வந்தது என்ற ஒரு ஆய்வில் ஈடுபடாதீர்கள், நேரத்தை வீணாக்காதீர்கள். அந்த நேரத்தை உங்களை நீங்கள் தியானம் மூலம் உள்மூச்சு மூலம் உங்களுடைய இதயத்தை அமைதிப்படுத்தினீர்கள் என்றால் அது நீங்கள் வந்து ஒரு அமைதியான அமைதியான சூழ்நிலையை உருவாக்கலாம். மற்றது அடுத்த முக்கியமானது வந்து எந்த விதமான நிகழ்வுகளையும் அமைதியுடன் ஏற்றுக்கொள்ளப்பட வேண்டும். அது முன்பு சொன்ன மாதிரி 100க்கு 100 பொறுப்பேற்று அதுக்குரிய நடவடிக்கைகள் எடுத்துக்கின்றோம். அப்ப என்ன மாதிரி என்றால் அனுபவம் மூலம் நாங்கள் இப்படியான பிரச்சனைகளை கையாள கற்றுக்கொள்ளலாம். மற்றது எல்லாம் வந்து எங்களுடைய உணர்வுகள் தான் இந்த பிரச்சனைகளுக்கும் மன அமைதியின்மைக்கும் காரணமாகினாலே எங்களுடைய கவனம் முழுக்க அதிலேயே செலுத்த வேண்டும். பயப்படக்கூடாது. இப்ப வாழ்க்கையிலே நாங்கள் எப்படி உணர வேண்டும், எப்படியோ வாழ்க்கை ஒரு சவால்கள் நிறைந்த ஒரு வாழ்க்கை தான் இருக்கும். எல்லா நேரங்களிலும் பிரச்சனைகள் வந்து கொண்டுதான் இருக்கும். இப்ப அவற்றை நாங்கள் கையாளுவதற்கு வந்து உள்ளுணர்வுகளை இனங்கண்டு மன அமைதியுடன் தியானத்தை மேற்கொண்டு எங்களுடைய சுவாசத்தை கவனித்து ஒரு அமைதியான வாழ்க்கையை ஏற்படுத்த முடியும் என்பதுதான் என்னுடைய அனுபவம் என்று கூறி இந்த வாய்ப்புக்கு நன்றி கூறி விடவில்லை. நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Thank you. We had the privilege of listening to Chelvi Mailvagnam's speech on the topic of dealing with a painful feeling, and also the beautiful translation by Marsima Pillai Master from Sydney. Let us show appreciation for their efforts with a round of applause. Please applaud for about 30 seconds, please. Thank you very much indeed.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். Greetings to all. Thank you very much, Chelvi, and thank you very much, Marsima Pillai Master, for the excellent translation. And Chelvi, you have given us so many examples and how to deal with the painful feeling. The first of all, it depends on individual. How do they take the situation? And for that type of situation, how we can deal with? First, we have to accept it. Why we got this, and how can we deal with that? Instead of getting angry, I think we should see why this has happened. So for everything is the way you said is meditation. So because when we are angry, we start to breathe too fast. When we start breathing too fast, then you'll be more anger. Your anger will be more and more. You will get angry, and there will be a panic. You will be emotional. So all this will happen. So rather than getting angry, so deal with the situation, why it has happened. So you have explained it very well. For this only, the meditation is the answer. So thank you very much. And you have given so many examples with the car and any situation with your children. So for everything, we shouldn't get angry. We have to be patient and to deal this situation with proper guidance and everything. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Next, we have Dr. Shanti Parameswaran from New Malden. Thank you very much.
Vanakkam. Greetings to all. Firstly, thank Chelvi Mailvagnam for an excellent talk, how to deal with painful feelings. We can never get away from painful feeling. So you told us how to deal with that. And of course, not forgetting Kumarasamy Pillai Master's excellent translation into Tamil. Always I admire that and wish I could do the same. And one day I think I will be able to excel in that. I should have the confidence to do that. Thank you very much, Kumarasamy Pilla Master. Chelvi Mailvagnam, you told us how to develop emotional resilience and to get the internal confidence. And for that, the basic thing you said is that we must be able to I think the analogy of the car breakdown was so very well that I took that down. It is an external circumstances, but that doesn't cause us that pain much more that we internalize it. And to deal with that feeling, I thought you said it so nicely. I thought it's like an observer. You come outside the feeling and observe your feelings. In that way, you become detached with your feeling, so you don't become part of it, so you learn to accept it more. I thought that was very nice. Thank you very, very much. I don't think I can say anything more than what you said. Beautifully explained. And I think, thank you very much. Please do come again and give us another topic and your excellent talk. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Mrs. Tavamani Manoharan from East Ham, East London. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, Auntie.
செல்விக்கு எல்லோருக்கும் வணக்கம். குமாரசாமி பிள்ளை மாஸ்டர் மொழிபெயர்ப்பு மிகவும் சிறப்பாக இருந்தது. செல்வியை பற்றி எனக்கு நான் தெரிந்தபடியா அவ இதுக்கு பொருத்தமானவ. மெடிடேஷன் கிளாஸ் எடுக்கிறா கொஞ்சம் காலமா. அதோட ஹாஸ்பிட்டலும் வேலை செய்தவ. அதில் இவருக்கு நல்ல அறிவு இருக்குது இதில் கதைக்கிறதுக்கு. ஆனபடியால் இதுக்கு இந்த தளத்துக்கு பொருத்தமானவன்று நான் யோசித்தேன். அதனால்தான் நான் அவ கேட்டிருந்தேன். அவன் சம்மதித்தா. இந்த இவ போல இளம் பிள்ளைகள் இவருக்கு இந்த வாழ்க்கையில ரியாலிட்டி என்னன்னு தெரிஞ்சிட்டது. ஆனபடியா அதை இதையும் ஹேண்டில் பண்ணக்கூடிய மனப்பக்கத்துக்கு வந்துட்டா. அப்போ சில விஷயங்களை ஹேண்டில் பண்ணியிருக்கிறா எனக்கு தெரியும். ஆனபடியா இளைஞர்களை ஊக்குவிக்க வேணும். செல்வி நீங்கள் ஒரு இளம் பிள்ளைகளோட கிளாஸ் வைக்கிறது நல்ல விஷயம். ஒரு நல்ல சமுதாயத்தை உருவாக்க முடியும். உங்களை போல பரபரப்பான தளத்துக்கு வந்து சேர்ந்து நீங்கள் கிடைக்கக்கூடியான நல்ல விஷயங்களோடும் மற்றவர்களோடும் கலந்து உரையாடலாம். மற்றொன்று செல்விக்கு தமிழ் தெரியும். தமிழ்ல கேள்வி கேட்டாலும் மறுமணம் சொல்லுவா. அந்த சப்ஜெக்ட் மேட்டரா வந்தபடியா தான் ஆங்கிலத்தில் பேசினா அவ தமிழிலும் பேசக்கூடும். அவ உங்களுக்கு விடையளிப்பா. நன்றி. வாய்ப்புக்கு எனக்கு வாய்ப்பு தந்ததற்கும் சிறுஸ்கந்தராயா தம்பதிகள் எல்லோருக்கும் நன்றி. உண்மையாகவே செல்வி ஒரு அருமையான தளம். நீர் அடிக்கடி இதுல வந்து கலந்து கொள்ள வேணும். அது நல்லது. பல இளைஞர்களை நாங்கள் இணைக்க வேண்டும் என்றுதான் நான் முயற்சி செய்கின்றேன். பார்ப்போம். நன்றி. வாய்ப்பு தந்ததுக்கு நன்றி. சிறுஸ்கந்தராஜ மாஸ்டர் தளராது அடிக்கடி எல்லாரும் அடிக்கடி ஞாபகப்படுத்தி அழுத்துக் கொள்வார். அயராது உழைப்பவர். அதுக்கு உறுதுணையாக இருப்பவர் அவரது பாரியார் திருமதி அருந்ததி சிறுஸ்கந்தராஜா அவர்கள். அவவை பார்த்தே எனக்கு அவ சின்ன யங்கா இருக்க தெரியும். அப்போ அதுக்கு அந்த முகத்துக்கும் இந்த முகத்துக்கும் சரியான வித்தியாசம். இப்ப இந்த தியானத்தினால் மிக ஒரு வித்தியாசமான தோற்றத்திலே எனக்கு காணப்படுறா. மிகவும் நன்றி. தேங்க்ஸ்.
நன்றி. Next we have Anandi Baladasan from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah. எல்லோருக்கும் வணக்கம். Greetings to all. It's a wonderful talk, Chelvi, dealing with painful feelings. That is external and internal. External, we cannot do anything. That's not in our hands. But the internal feelings, we have to reduce our anger and our fear and anger. Mostly fear and anger. World peace coming from internal peace. Doing collectively means our meditation is helping us wonderfully. And thank you very much, Tavamani Master, for introducing Chelvi. And thank you, Kumarasamy Pilla Master, for the appropriate translation. Chelvi, you come back and with more useful topics.
Oh,
to,
thank you so much.
to educate us. Yeah, and I have Arivittal tomorrow, 20th February morning. We have UK time 9 o'clock, 9:30. தியானத்துக்கு பிறகு 9:30 தீவிர எங்கட 1 hour தியானம் நடைபெறும். பிறகு அதுக்கு பிறகு 11 மணி மது தமிழ் அமுதும் பிஎஸ்எஸ்எம் சேர்ந்து நடத்துறது ப்ரோக்ராம் 11 மணிக்கு தியானத்தின் பிறகு நடைபெறும். அதில் வந்து மலைப்பள்ளி தலைமை ஆசிரியர் சென்னை ஜோதிலக்ஷ்மி குடும்ப அமைதியை எவ்வாறு பேணலாம் என்ற சிறப்புரை ஆட்ட வருகிறார். அதோடு சேர்ந்து ஒரு கர்நாடக சங்கீத ஒரு மேதையும் வர்றா லோகா வெங்கட் உண்டு. அவள் கர்நாடக இசை கொடுக்க போகிறாவாக்கும் என்னண்டு அது போடவில்லை. மற்றது பிறகு 8 மணிக்கு இரவு 8 மணிக்கு தியானத்தின் பின் தவமணி மனோரன் மாஸ்டர் திருக்குறளில் இலக்கிய நயத்தை பற்றி சிறப்புரை ஆற்ற வருகிறார். எல்லோரும் வந்து பங்கு பெறும்படி வேண்டுகின்றோம். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Nandri, Anandi Master. As there is no anybody is raising hand, can I ask you one question, Chelvi?
Yeah, of course.
You said you are doing Kadamba meditation. Can you give me brief explanation about Kadamba meditation? As we are doing mindful meditation, what is the difference between Kadamba meditation and the one we are doing now?
Okay, so Kadamba meditation is a Buddhist meditation, from Buddhist tradition, Tibetan Buddhist tradition. So Kadamba tradition is it's basically, it presents a whole path to enlightenment as presented by Buddha Shakyamuni. And so then you have, for example, the meditation we did today, like where you're focusing on the breath. So that's what we would call a preliminary meditation. So that's about calming your mind down, connecting to that heart space of, spacious mind, that quality of peace. And then you have other meditations, which are basically requires contemplating. So for example, a meditation on loving kindness, love or compassion, where you are contemplating particular instructions and teachings until you get a feeling or insight into love, and then you focus on that. So you're changing your underlying beliefs about life, So in general, for example, we see everything from the perspective of self, like everything is from me or mine, isn't it? Like in general. And that's like our framework for our living. So through systematic Kadamba meditation, you're shifting that from me, the limited identity. I love that quote we saw in the screen earlier, to the identity of an enlightened being, where you're able to see you are living in love and with a mind of compassion, for example. There are other types of meditations on, like impermanence, loss and change. There's a lot of teachings on how you deal with, sort of the fact that, all meetings are imparting. All of us will eventually depart from this life. How do you cope with that? How do you cope with the losses of life? How do you deal with the loss of reputation, status, all of those things that we're very attached to? So essentially, one of the key sort of teachings is that a lot of our suffering comes from what we call uncontrolled desire, attachment, which is basically believing that happiness is separate from the mind. So there's a lot of kind of contemplations that help you reclaim your power and connect to that sort of feeling of peace, and letting go of external dependency on external sources for happiness and so on. So there's a lot more. So I would say Kadamba meditation, in fact, it's a global organization. So wherever you are, in whatever country you are, especially I'm seeing a lot of people from UK and Canada and different places. If you put Kadamba Meditation Center near me, you will get Kadamba centers. So it is pretty much around the world, and it's sort of brought to the west by. I don't know if you can see the photo. Actually, I'll show you a photo of my teacher.
You can share it on the screen.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Is the age? What's her name? What's her name?
It's a he, so he's Geshe Kelsang.
It's a Tibetan name, is it?
It is a Tibetan name. Yeah, it's a Tibetan
Yes.
Buddhist master. Yeah, it's a lineage holder of this tradition. So, so then it's an unbroken lineage going all the way back to, you know, the original Buddha. So from teacher to student, teacher to student. So he came to the UK in the 1970s and then set up the tradition, and then it went global. So, so I sort of, yeah. So he's passed away a couple of years ago, but that's who he's my teacher basically. That's where all the Kadampa meditation comes from. But it's not his. He would say it's not coming from me. It's coming from my teacher, and you know, so the lineage goes back all the way back to the original Buddha.
Yeah, I will look into the internet and see what is more information I can get it from.
Yes, if you put I could put some resources on the WhatsApp group. Are we in there? I could send you some on the WhatsApp, then you can have a look. Like a little bit.
I want to know what is it. Yeah, I want to know what is the difference between what we are doing, what is the Kadamba, what mainly they teach, what is that? Just an interest, that's all.
Yeah, so whereabouts are you?
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon.
Oh, that's very interesting because there's a big temple in Morden. In Morden, and also in Kensington in London.
There is a one in Wimbledon as well, Buddhist temple there.
Yeah, it's not that one. That's a Theravada. That's a different tradition. Yeah, so I'll put that in there on the WhatsApp group. Yeah, so I mean, if you look at like you know, just go along and sample a class. It's very. The other thing about Kadampa Buddhism is it's not really aimed for people who are interested in Buddhism. It's very much about training the mind. You know, people who come, they're not interested in Buddhist teachings. It's more about training the mind. So please don't, you know, it's very sort of open to everyone. The way it's presented is very, very practical. Just a bit like how I talk today, very practical. But yeah, I'll put it on there.
It's more or less same as breath mindfulness meditation, a little bit different maybe. More or less same, I think.
No, it's quite different. It's quite different. So the breath mindfulness, there is an aspect of it, but it's a very small aspect of it. But the main teachings are contemplative. They're actually like reflecting and coming to different insights. But another part, there's different, there's more, there's a lot more to it. It's more about changing your internal belief system completely. So it's through reflection and contemplation. The breath mindfulness is like what we call the how you start a meditation, where you try and get your mind calm down before you can start to change your beliefs, but not from your head, but from your heart space. Like we all know what we should be doing, right? Like we all know I shouldn't get angry, but we get angry because in our heart we have beliefs that we hold on to. So in meditation, you go into your heart space and observe what are the beliefs that's giving rise to anger. And what are the, like, you know, so in the teachings, Geshe Kelsang explains all painful feelings come from delusional thinking, distorted thinking, unrealistic thinking. So like identifying the beliefs that are giving rise to unrealistic thinking. And that's a big part of that meditation, which I couldn't really go into today because that's you know what I mean, it's too much.
Yeah, thank you anyway, because there are few people who have raised hands, so let them ask questions.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
Now we have Dr. Jagannathan from Ilford, East London.
Greetings to everyone. I thought Chelvi Mailvagnam's presentation was short and sweet, with full of facts and practical tips. Excellent, and thank you. In psychology, there's a well-known 4-stage, or you can say 3-stage process. I don't want to go into that. It was described for grief, you know, in other words, long-term effects. But your example of car breaking down is a short term. The point is, even in a short term, what happens is the disappointment is, you said, a painful feeling, but it's because a gainful feeling is sabotaged, isn't it? Because you're going somewhere, so the gain is sabotaged. So you go through the 4 stages or whatever. The other thing is, I'm glad you pointed out these feelings are either to do with past or future. So you have to stick to the present moment. The past is because, oh, well, my plans have gone wrong. The future is, oh, what am I going to do with it? So there you are So there's present moment, which is part of mindfulness. The other thing is, I like the phrase you said. You cannot numb it, because people try to numb it. You can't numb it. So the words are described in typically as internalize and identify. Basically, what it means is don't blend with or have ownership it, even if that is difficult to understand. Another example would be, it's like they say, when there is a challenge, you surf on the water rather than going under. So people who surf will overcome even a tsunami because you're surfing, and similarly, you have to deal with that. So that's one. And lastly, again, you said mind is like a laboratory. Then I thought, fair enough. This well-known man called Sadhguru, he says mind is a chemical soup. So when he said laboratory, say, so when the chemical soup is imbalanced, then you are into trouble. So it was a good speech and full of practical tips. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Next, we have Sugendra Dharmakumar.
Greetings to everyone. Today, Chelvi Master, your dealing with painful feelings was excellent. I was listening, even though the speech is so short, I can see what you were saying. And it's mainly, if it comes from external sources, it's very difficult to control it. Because, for example, I was working, and one of the ladies who were working with me, she gives me pressure all the time. So when I come home, my husband can see me from my face how I am down with stress. And at that time, he never talks to me. He knows that I will jump on him for everything what I heard, what I get from work. So this happens so often. Then at the end, I left the job because it's more peaceful to leave the job than coming with stress to home, when I come home. So this is external factors that we can sort it. But when it comes to internal one, it's very difficult to control it. But now, because of meditation, we can control that anger and don't talk to people when we were angry. Just calm it down and then deal with it. So very interesting speech, and I really liked it. Thank you very much. Come again and give us some more tips. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's a really great example. Really great. Thank you for sharing that. I think that they are real life examples, working with people we don't like and who are maybe not kind or considerate. And sometimes the best thing is to walk away from that situation and then use meditation to, as you're saying, strengthen your inner world. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
But when it comes to relationship, it's very difficult.
It is.
You have to cope with it. Yeah, that's another part of it. But for that, meditation is most important.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Coordination Master from Team.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Your speech is short and sharp. Very good. Very directly, I will ask this very short question. You were saying that when you experience painful feelings, first thing, not to panic and all. Okay, that's fine. But even an average person sometimes find it hard to do that anyway.
Very.
Having said, yeah, practically, I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Practically, yeah, that's a problem. But all I am asking is there are in this country now, I mean, after pandemic, there are so many people, they suffer mental health issues. You know that anyway, I don't need to tell you.
Yeah.
But having said that, the worst part of it, they can't even see a mental health professional, possibly it can take more than an year. Okay. I mean, so that kind of situation, you know, people I can see so many of them, they suffer a lot. I mean, I'm talking about UK only. I mean, I don't know about Australia and other places. I heard Australia is very much better now. Anyway, so all I am asking is, whatever thing you said, not to panic, and all is not going to work at all. Even meditation is not going to work anyway for those kind of people. So what sort of tactic or strategy you can, I mean, prescribe as a sort of a medicine for those kind of people, but can work?
That's such a good question, actually. That's a very good question. Something I think about a lot because, you know, I work for a meditation charity, and then people come to meditation have already 90% solved their problem. They're already like jumped through lots of hoops, and we're only seeing a very small fraction of the people. And what you're saying is so true. Even meditation isn't often accessible to people. If your mind is so full of anxiety, depression, and paranoid thoughts and so on, even sitting down to meditate is going to be unbearable. Some people can't do it, you know. So I think, you know, like I would say, you know, like I mean, there's two things. I mean, from the hat of somebody as a meditator, one of the meditations that we teach, although this is people who would come up to class, is not, you know, is mantras. You know, mantras. You know, so there's mantra recitation. It's a big part of meditation. So even if your mind is completely uncontrolled, if you just keep reciting the mantras, the mantra is, you know, it's chi, it's energy, isn't it? It's like the prana. So there's give the context. So there's two ways of working with your mind. One is through your mind, through the breath, and you're changing your thoughts. The other is through what we call energy winds, prana that flows through your body. So when your energy winds are imbalanced, that's when you get mental imbalances. You know, so when your mind's angry, your energy winds are completely wild. So when if you've got a lot of strong mental health issues, you're not going to be able to think positively or focus on the breath. It's too much for you. And if you are open to that, like a lot of people aren't, mantras are a very good way of like pacifying the uncontrolled chi, the energy in your body, to a state of some relative peace before you can start to work with your mind. Okay, so that's one of the meditations we teach, especially if you've got strong anxiety or panic. You can't even engage with, oh, I must be calm. Then you just repeat the mantras, which pacifies your mind. So that's only for people who are like who have openness to meditation. But if you're not, I'm thinking that as a social worker, I don't know. I feel like some physical, somatic kind of practices, which again, you know, it's a bit of a luxury really, because not everybody's open to that. But like something that's going to really kind of bring you into your body and kind of ground you. Do you know what I mean? Even things like Tai Chi and that kind of thing. So I mean, honestly, I still don't know the answer to what you're saying, but I recognize there's a huge problem. Meditation is not accessible to everybody.
Only thing, when you say mantra, you actually utter through mouth, or you do mentally, or what?
Yes, you can say it silently. So there's a mantra that we say Om Ahum, which is basically it purifies